Friends, let's start on the AWS S3 questionnaires. This is set number 1. Set number 1, question 1. Which of the following statements regarding S3 storage class is true? Option A. The availability of S3 and S3IA infrequent access is the same. The durability of S3 and S3IA is the same. The latency of S3 and Glacier is the same. Option D is the latency of S3 is greater than that of Glacier. So let's look at the answer. Answer is B. The durability of S3 and S3I is the same. This is a common question on AWS exam and relates to your understanding of the various S3 classes. S3 and S3I have the same durability, but the availability of S3 is 1/9 greater than S3IA. S3 has 99.99 availability, while S3IA has 99.9 availability. Glacier has much greater first byte latency than S3, so both C and D are false. Next, question 2. What is the smallest file size that can be stored on standard class S3? A. 1 byte, B. 1 MB, C. 0 bytes, D. 1 KB. Answer is C. 0 bytes. First, note that on standard class S3 is a red herring and irrelevant to the question. Second, object on S3 can be 0 bytes. This is equivalent to using touch on a file and then uploading that 0 byte file to S3. So answer is C, 0 bytes. Question 3. You have just created a new S3 bucket named My Profile Pictures in the US East 2 region. You need the URL of the bucket for some programmatic access. What is the correct bucket URL? So just have a look on option A, B, C. And the correct answer is A. This is a matter of carefully looking at each URL. Bucket names, when not used as a website, always comes after the fully qualified domain names FQDN. In other words, after the // that eliminates C. Additionally, the region always comes earlier in the FQDN than AWS.com. It eliminates the D. This leaves A and B. Of the two, A correctly has the complete region US East 2. Question 4. You have just created a new S3 bucket named My Profile Picture in the US East 2 region and created a folder at the root level of the bucket called Images. So you have turned on website hosting and asked your content team to upload images into the images folder. At what URL will these images be available through a web browser? So look at the option A, B, C, D, and the answer is C. This is another question that is tricky unless you work through each part of the URL piece by piece. The first clue is that this is a website hosted on S3 as opposed to directly accessing an S3 bucket, where website hosting is concerned. The bucket name is part of the FQDN. Where direct bucket access is concerned, the bucket name comes after the FQDN. This is an essential distinction. This means that A and B are invalid. Then you need to recall that the S3 website portion of the FQDN is always connected to the region. In other words, it is not a subdomain. The only option where this is The case is C. Question 5. Which of the following statement is true? The durability of S3 and S3IA is the same. The availability of S3 and S3IA is the same. The durability of S3 is greater than the glacier. The durability of S3 is greater than that of the S3IA. The answer is A. This is another case of rote memorization. S3 and S3IA have the same durability. However, the availability of S3 is higher, 99.99 versus the 99.9 of S3IA. Both Glacier and S3IA have the same durability of standard S3, so both C and D are false. You have a group of web designers who frequently uploads large zip files of images to S3, often in excess of 5 GB. Recently, team members have reported that they are receiving the errors. Your proposed upload exceeds the maximum allowed object size. What action should you take to resolve the upload problem? Look at the option A, B, C, D. Option A: increase the maximum allowed object size in the target S3 bucket used by the web designer. B: ensure that your web designers are using applications or client that take advantages of the multi-part upload API for all uploaded objects. Option C: contact AWS and submit a ticket to have your default S3 bucket size raised. Ensure that this is also applied to the target bucket for your web designers uploads. Option D: log into the AWS console, select the S3 service and locate your bucket. Edit the bucket properties and increase the maximum object size to 50 GB. And the answer is B. Many of these answers are nonsensical in the terms of what AWS allows. The limit on the size related to S3 are for objects. An individual object can be as large as 5 TB. Both A and C then are not useful or possible. D proposes to increase the maximum object size to 50 GB, but the maximum object size is already 5 TB. Option B is correct. AWS recommends using multi-part upload for all objects larger than 100 MB. Question 7. For which of the following HTTP methods does S3 have eventual consistency? Choose 2. A: puts of new objects. B: updates. C: deletes. D: puts that overwrites existing objects. Answer is C and D. Puts of new objects have a read after write consistency. Deletes and overwrites puts have eventual consistency across S3. Question 8. A small business specializing in video processing wants to prototype cloud storage in order to lower its cost. However, management is wary of storing its client file in the cloud rather than a premise. They are focused on cost savings and experimenting with the cloud at this time. What is the best solution for their prototype? Option A: install a VPN, set up an S3 bucket for their file created within the last month, and set up an additional S3IA bucket for folders files. Create a lifecycle policy in S3 to move files older than 30 days into the S3IA bucket nightly. B: install an AWS storage gateway using stored volumes. C: set up a direct connect and back all local hard drives up to S3 over the direct connect nightly. D: install an AWS storage gateway using cached volumes. Answer is option B. Anytime the primary consideration is storage with a local data presence, where data must be stored or seen to be stored locally, a storage gateway gives you the best option. This reduces the choices to B and D. B will store the files in S3 and provides local cached copies, while D will store the files locally and push them to S3 as a backup. Since management is concerned about storage in the cloud of primary files, P is the best choices. Local files are the primary source of data, while still allowing the company to experiment with cloud storage without risking its data being stored primarily in the cloud. Question 9. Which of the following statement is not true? Standard S3, S3 IA and S3 one zone IA all are equal durable. B. The availability of S3 IA and S3 one zone IA are identical. Standard S3, S3 IA and S3 zone one zone IA all have different availabilities. D. S3 one zone IA is as durable as standard S3. Answer is B. This is an important distinction when understanding S3 classes. Standard S3, S3 IA and S3 one zone IA all are equally durable, although in one zone IA data will be lost if the availability zone is destroyed. Each class has different availability. Though S3 is 99.99, S3 IA is 99.9 and S3 one zone IA is 99.5. Therefore, it is a false that all have the same availability. B. Which of the following AWS service appears in the AWS console across all regions? Choose 2. Option A S3, B EC2, C IAM, D RDS. Answer is A and C. The wording of the question is critical. S3 buckets are created within a region, but the AWS console and your account will show you all S3 buckets at all times. While a bucket is created in a specific region, names of buckets are also global. IAM permissions are also global and affect all regions. RDS and EC2 instances are region specific and only appear in the region in which they were created in the AWS console. Thank you. The end of the set 1. Let's meet in the set 2.